So the other day we made a video talking about this article that popped up on The Athletic from Scott Wheeler a few days ago. It essentially goes over different prospects in the NHL and talks about how Wheeler was incorrect in his assessment about these guys. Back when they were drafted, he had one opinion, and now a few years later, he has come to the realization that he was wrong. Now, of course, this is not a video dunking on Scott Wheeler at all. It's actually pretty good that he's going out there and saying, hey, this is my evaluation from before, this is why it's incorrect, and here's what we learned from this situation. And because it's always fun to review some of these analysts, their opinions, where they went wrong, etc., I thought it would be a great idea to make this video in particular and talk about an Ottawa Senators defenseman that I myself was also not really too high on. So, I'm making this video to say that I agreed with Scott Wheeler's analysis back in the early 2020s. I actually didn't really think too much of this prospect when he was initially drafted by the Sens. But today, he is somewhat of a fan favorite and up-and-coming defenseman on this blue line, and a lot of Ottawa Senators fans are super excited to see what the future holds. Let's talk today about Tyler Kleven. Now, Kleven is one of the more intriguing names that was taken in the 2020 draft by the Senators, 44th overall in the second round. Back in this time frame, the 6'4", 201-pound left-handed defenseman was playing out of the US NTDP, where he had 12 points in 45 games played. Now, this NTDP team was not the same team as the Jack Hughes, Cole Caulfield, Boldy team. This was the crop of guys after. So you had the Borderlows, the Beniers, the Luke Tucks, and the Jake Sandersons. We can make a video about Sanderson, but we'll save that for another day. Tyler Kleven had 12 points in 45 games played, and he was more so seen as just this kind of stumpy, big defenseman who didn't have the greatest offensive touch, but instead was more so of a brute. And a brute that you could say didn't have much value outside of just being a brute. The Elite Prospect Scouting Report of Kleven from 2020 goes out there and says this: he's a strong single variable defender, stopping one-on-one rushes and guiding the puck carrier up the boards. He's able to find teammates moving up the middle, and Kleven has a bombing one-timer, but he's rarely ready to shoot. Occasionally he hits his teammate with a crafty shot pass, though, and activates down low. Kleven was projected to go a lot later by a lot of these scouting outlets. Craig Button had him at 93, McKenzie actually had him at 36, so right around where he did go. Future Considerations had him at 79 there. So Kleven was more so of a polarizing type of D-man, whose numbers in terms of point production did not really stand out much. Alas, the Ottawa Senators took the North Dakota Fargo native, and reception was pretty immediate amongst the NHL scouting community. You know how everybody talks about Tyler Boucher, Ottawa Senators' top pick later on, that was also taken too early? Yeah, some of those similar sentiments brought themselves up when Tyler Kleven was drafted, and a lot of people in the scouting community were like, hey, why? Pierre Dorion, though, pretty much told them all, you have no call to get snippy with me, I'm just doing my job here. This is where we head over into the future, because Tyler Kleven, ever since he had been an NTDP graduate, played for the North Dakota Fighting Sioux. He played 3 seasons over there, and last year he had 18 points in 35 games played, 84 penalty minutes as well. Not to mention the fact that he suited up for Team USA at the World Championships and got a cup of coffee with the Ottawa Senators at the end of the year, 8 games played, 2 points. Now, the thing with Kleven is that towards the end of the season, you saw this guy make his debut, and he really didn't look too out of place. Like, sure, this isn't a Thomas Chabot out here, this is not a Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes who's gonna go out there and produce the lights out like crazy, but what Kleven did provide was a good foundation of stability on that blue line. He's still a big dude, he's still a very physical dude, and he's still a physically imposing dude as well. This is why, if we head over onto the Scott Wheeler piece, NHL prospects I was wrong about, Jan Mysak, Tyler Kleven, Peyton Krebs, and more, you could actually find the analysis written out on the Ottawa Senators subreddit. I'm not going to screenshot the Athletic article directly because it's paid-for material, but I have no control as to whether or not this paid-for material was posted onto a public forum, which is where it was posted a few days ago on the Sen sub. Take a look at this comment made by Unparalleled Success. It goes over Wheeler's comments regarding Kleven. Back in the 2020 draft, Scott Wheeler had Kleven as an honorable mention. He didn't even rank Kleven on his board. Here's the thing with Kleven, Wheeler writes, I still wouldn't have taken him where the Sens did, even after his solid progress smoothing out some of his kinks, like softening up his feel on the puck to create fewer bobbles and mishandles, cutting back on some lackadaisical movements and sloppy pivots to better use his above-average skating for his size, making better decisions more consistently on the puck, etc., across these 3 seasons with no Dak. Even after his 8 games in the NHL last season and his entry into the battle for one of the Sens' 7 jobs for this upcoming year. Even knowing today, as we knew then, that he has the physical tools, the size, the strength, the physicality, and the booming shot to be a solid defender, there were some excellent forwards and defensemen taken shortly after him in the 2020 draft, including, with the very next pick and the better pure defender at the national program that year, Brock Faber. Another player I was a little low on, but still higher on than Kleven. Still though, Wheeler writes, Tyler Kleven should have been in my top 100 and it looks now like he will be a reliable defensive presence and complementary partner for a busier partner in the NHL. The big remaining question that I have is about the one thing that he didn't clean up in his college days. All of the penalties he takes to put his team down, especially when he's counted upon as a penalty killer. I'll be keeping a closer eye on that as he tries to win an NHL job, because he'll be a more useful player if he can remain a physical and competitive presence on the ice while staying out of the box. Tyler Kleven needs to give this nerd a noogie and steal his lunchbox. Now, of course, that's a lot of writing there, but essentially Wheeler is saying that when it comes to this guy, he's gone out there and proved a lot of us wrong. Not necessarily that he isn't this big brute defenseman, but that there are more NHL projectable qualities in that than meets the eye, or at least that did meet the eye back in 2020. Let's go over onto another piece. This is the hockey news. It's Tony Ferrari on August 9th talking about the Ottawa Senators and their prospect pool. Of course, there's a lot written about the different names in the Sens system, but I wanted to focus more so on what it writes about here with Kleven. On the back end, Ferrari writes, the Sens could be looking to have 2 of their prospects, Tyler Kleven and Jacob Bernard-Docker, join the lineup throughout the year. Both played in NHL games last year with decent results in limited action. Kleven has a bit more of a clear path to a roster spot next season, and he has quickly become a fan favorite in Ottawa because of his skating and size combination. Kleven is a heat-seeking missile, constantly on the lookout to lay a booming hit. His game with the puck on his stick is still a work in progress, but he showed some flashes of skill when with no Dak. And so realistically, when it comes to the way Kleven has progressed, the Ottawa Senators seem to have drafted him that highly in the 2020 draft with a very specific idea in mind as to what type of defenseman he would be. Sure, there were other guys that produced more, and even other defensemen on the same NTGP team that looked better, more nimble, more offensively potent than Kleven that were available in this draft. But the Sens took him because they wanted that brute. They wanted the guy to just be a physical force, shut down opposition. He's a big dude, he can hit people, he's not afraid to get physical, maybe to his detriment because he spends some time in the penalty box, and they're seeming to get what they asked for out of this player. The thing is, we know this mold still has a role in the NHL. You got guys like Ben Sherratt that are going for big trade returns at the trade deadline. You have other names like Bogosian that are still seen as valuable. Even younger guys like Arber Xhekaj in Montreal. That guy fits a very similar mold as to what Tyler Kleven has accomplished so far, or at least what he's looking to accomplish so far during the start of his Ottawa Senators career. And so at the end of the day, even though we may have been a little bit harsh on the Sens when the Tyler Kleven pick was made back in 2020, it's 3 years down the line and this guy's looking like an NHL player, which is not really a common pattern among second-round picks. Sure, you'll have some, but a lot of these guys also fade away. Kleven just seems to be one of those that has not. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below how Scott Wheeler was wrong about Tyler Kleven, how I personally was also kind of wrong about him because I felt very similar feelings towards this player during the 2020 draft days. What are your thoughts on the way he's developed so far with no Dak, and what do you think he's going to do with the Sens next season? He's a guy from Fargo, so I tried to at least throw in a joke right there. I don't know. Did it really hit? I'm not too sure. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about that as well. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.